Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining in today, watching the Percepta Leadership Series. I am Kellen and joined today by my co-host, Rachel.
That's right. Hello, world. Hope you're all doing great.
Yes. I hope everyone is doing well as well. And today we're joined by one of our newest members of the executive leadership team here at Percepta, Merideth Evans. Super excited to have her here today, talking operations and all kinds of fun stuff that she has going on. So looking forward to that. Before we kick off, want to just thank everyone that continues to watch and support the show. Very thankful for you guys. We love to bring on some awesome guests and talk about cool things that we're doing and that they're doing in their areas and all kinds of cool stuff. And we also love to hear from you guys. So if you ever have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, please drop them in the no concerns.
But you're concerned that it's such a great show.
Yeah, exactly. But feel free to interact below in the comments, and we'll definitely love to hear from you guys. So thank you. Well, Rachel, I'm super excited about our guest today, and I think we're gonna have some cool stuff going on, talking operations. So Merideth, before we just start giving away your whole story, why don't you give everybody a little lowdown on who you are, how long you've been in the business, where you're coming from, all that kind of fun details for us.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here at Percepta. So being the San Antonio Texan that I am, I'll use a little riff from that Texas often say is that I wasn't from here, but I got here as fast as I could. So the newest member of Percepta got here as fast as I could. So I have been in the BPO for 25 plus years. Wow. I started on the phone as an agent, outbound telemarketing a bazillion years ago, 25 plus years ago. So I spent the first part of my career in outbound telemarketing, calling you at dinner time, right? And trying to sell you a variety of things. Definitely age yourself when you start saying you were selling long distance plans.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Credit cards. But what an amazing journey that was. This is, early 90s. And very quickly I learned, oh my goodness, right? If you could just, pay attention, understand the metrics, right? You could really move up. So very quickly, I'm traveling the US, I'm opening call centers, outbound call centers all over the US. And what an amazing journey it was. It was like scrappy, we dropped into a city, we had a site, we would hire people, train people, coach them on the phone. I had like the time of my life, literally. This is not Dirty Dancing. This is the real. So anyway, I progressed from there. I moved to San Antonio, Texas. I got a great opportunity to work in the client services space. So I picked up and I moved to San Antonio, Texas, to work for another organization. And that was still a lot of outbound, right? A little bit, much more advanced. And then clients, like people like me, had now gone to the client side. They knew where all the bodies were buried. And they really wanted more of this client ops hybrid, right? They, because back in the day, like ops never talked to clients, right? It was just services, and it was very scripted, and here's what's going on, and here's what we're doing. And the only time they talked to ops, it was almost like ops was like the dirty little secret behind the closed door, right? Behind the curtain, like ops or something. Anyway, so I spent quite a few years in client services. And then over the last 15 years, I've been really working with a lot of startups, right? How do you scale? Whether it's social media, fintech, and many of these companies they turned it over to the BPO, like help us do this, right? We're gaming people. We don't know how to run customer service, like help us do that. And that's been an amazing journey, working with startups and helping them grow. Some of them we helped from 20 people to 7,000 people to support, whether it was gaming, social media, content moderation, natural language understanding, and even getting into supporting autonomous vehicle, fleet response, roadside assistance. So it's been an amazing journey, right? Getting involved in quality and analytics, getting involved in client services, helping them strategize and form and shape how they're going to move forward. But operations, I'm an operations girl at heart, right? Like I like being close to the front line. I was a frontliner.
That's right.
And I do think there's a lot of merit to remembering where you came from.
Yeah, I remember when we've kind of, we've learned about you joining the company. One of the statements you've made is that you were born on the contact center floor. I told Kellen I was going to ask you about this because I love, I love the analogy. Of course, a lot of things happen on the contact center floor, but you really did get your start at that level. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think these days we could correlate people like long distance plans. Y'all, it's like when people called about your extended car warranty. It's
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's a good correlation there, Rachel, for our younger viewers.
That's right. But I think it's so valuable. And I know we feel the value already at Perceptive, but when you have someone who's been in those shoes, like you get the frontline experience. I mean, that's so crucial for a company where we do have a global employee workforce that are on that front line. I'd love to hear more about that too, just like how you correlate your experience to, and you translate that into making sure that our frontline feels supported and then, thus create that wonderful customer experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I often say to anybody who wants to talk about like, how do you run a successful contact center? How do you create that customer experience?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's really about creating that frontline experience, right? What are the tools and technology that we put in their hands? And often for business process outsourcers, right? We're really using our client tools, right?
Yeah.
So how do we then strategize with them to make that user experience really, really good, right? Because if your employee experience is high, then your customer experience, that comes through in the phone calls or the verbiage they leverage in SMS or chat. And so that's probably the first. And then it's really around how do we teach the next line of leaders, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got your front line and then you've got your frontline leaders, right? They have the hugest impact on the entire organization, right? Because they are leading this frontline team overall. And so what's the coaching and development we're giving them to create the customer experience, to create the frontline experience overall, right? Because they have the most power in that space, right? I can sit and navigate and draw a roadmap and even physically get out there and train, which I've been known to do on many occasions. But the day to day, the grind, really understanding, is Rachel saving for a pair of, Jimmy Choos? And, how do I coach her when she's missing days of work?
Right.
Or, is Kellen looking for a new car? Right. And I have to sit down and have that coaching conversation. Mm-hmm. Right? And say, hey, if you worked, if you would come every day, 5 days a week, right? Instead of just 4 days a week, you'd get there 24 months quicker.
That's right.
So.
Well, I love all this stuff, and it's like I'm actually super excited to dive in here. So one of the things that we talked about, Meredith, was your key focuses on your journey. Can you kind of dive into those four for us a little bit and kind of give us a little rundown on that?
Yes. So I think on my journey in terms of core focus has been, and I think I've said this to a few people at Percepta already, is how do we do this at 20x?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's a lot, right? When you think about it, but ultimately I think every company is looking to grow 20x if they can, right? And are we prepared to do that? And so what does that mean? So do we have repeatable processes, right? Or do we have each one of our sites running different methodologies on how we onboard, retain, train, and those processes that we have in certain circumstances, right, in some organizations could be okay for right now.
Right.
But how do you get that repeatable success, right? And a lot of it is collaboration, right? Is that are we constantly working as a leadership team at every level, right? And gaining thought leadership from different sites, different locations, and even different companies, right? There are huge industry conferences doing what we do, right? I think, the other thing is, as we prepare for scale, we've got our learning. We're starting to build our process. We're trying to pressure test it, right? Can we go 20x? And then again, I can't reiterate it enough. How are we keeping the people in mind? Right? Are we trying to throw too much spaghetti at the wall? Right? Because sometimes at the leadership level, we think, okay, we got to grow, we got to double, and here comes all the business. But is the team ready? Right? How are we constantly keeping them engaged to do that. So I'll give you an example. One of the things that I do with my team, and not just my direct reports, but the teams below them, is we have two things, right? One is Think Tank with Merideth, right? Every Tuesday I send out a communication. What is the podcasts that I'm listening to? What are the books that I'm reading?
Nice.
How is it applicable to them? And then on Thursdays, it's just Thankful Thursday, right? I share something from Brene Brown or some other incredible thought leader around how you can take that vulnerability into leadership and keep that human aspect of mind.
That says a lot too. I love that you bring in the humanity of it. This isn't just about deliverables. This isn't just about metrics and the grind and, churn out, deliver and all that stuff. But, and Kellen, I know you and I have talked about this too, looking at the whole person, because each of us is showing up to our jobs, for most of our waking hours during the week. We're a whole person, and there's a lot there where you're not just speaking to say, hey, let's improve how we deliver. Let's improve how we are as humans and really facilitating that. I think that's so huge. But getting back to your scaling up part, it seems like that has to be core, your focus, your core focus, because if you are indeed going to be asking your colleagues and humans that maybe you don't directly interact with, but your team members do, you're asking everybody, okay, we got to pull together and scale up. You have to have that human investment. You have to show that you're like, I do care about you as a whole human, and together we can do this. And that gets back to your collaboration piece, which is super important.
That's right. Absolutely. It's funny when we talk about business, right? So you have manufacturing, or you have companies that create widgets and walk-its and all of those cool things. We're in the people business.
Yeah.
We're not in the KPI business. KPIs are lag measures, right? The people and the investment that we make in people really is that lead measure, and where the collaboration has to start and to gain the buy-in.
Yeah.
Everything else will come if you can figure out that part. And training is important too, and recurrent training, right? Because BPO is fast and furious. And I've seen a lot of companies, in my tenure, who there's a lot of time investment that they put into it. But do we walk the walk? Do we walk the talk, right? Or are we pushing content, right? And look, I'm old school. I believe 90% of my development is up to me, but I don't know if millennials do, right? Or the Gen Zers. I've got one of each, right? I've got two kids. I've got two daughters, right? They're 10 years apart. So I've got one on both ends of the spectrum. Nice. And they operate differently. They think about things differently, and much different than my Gen X self, right? So even thinking about in training, what is your demographic within your organization, on your production floors, and how are you going to deliver that? And people learn different. So I'm a visual person. I got to see it. Like, you could tell me all day long. I got to write it down. And then if you could show me in another way, if you could show me, that's going to be where I'm like, bing, light bulbs on.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's very much me too. I'm taking notes over here, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here like taking all this in. So yeah, this is awesome. I really appreciate all this. Meredith, you said something. So two things. I love that you send out your own communication. That's fabulous. Coming from the comms team, we're like, yes, fantastic. Let us know how we can help you. What are you reading right now? Anything good you're reading right now?
I am. Well, I'm self-diagnosed attention deficit disorder. So I'm usually reading a few things, but I am reading right now Impact Players by Liz Wiseman. Amazing woman. And she really does this with collaboration. So there's that collaboration thing with several very successful leaders in their space. And she opens the book really talking about a great story of, she goes into Oracle, and she's a learning leader, right? She's stood back and said, like, we need, in her mind, they needed management development, because they've got these brilliant minds from MIT and all these amazing companies, and they're coming into Oracle to be programmers, and then they become managers of programmers. And she goes and she pitches this out, right? She pitches this to the CEO. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure it was the CEO. Anyway, long and short, he's like, that is amazing. You're right. We do need that. But what I need right now is to figure out how I'm going to onboard and teach 200 new graduates how to code Oracle. And so she was very offended, right? Like, and she talks about it pretty openly, about it, as that she was frustrated because she didn't want to, wasn't a programmer. She didn't know how to do that kind of training.
Right.
Long and short, he basically sends her on her way, like, go talk to so-and-so. We need to figure out how to onboard these 200 people. So the whole precipice of the book is, you might have some brilliant ideas, but are you making the impact the business needs right? Right. And so all those things I talked about core foundational training and scaling to 20x, that's all amazing, but you got to repair the plane while we're flying. Right. And so that's kind of the last piece of it, is how do you do that? How do you keep the train moving forward and start to lay new track along the way? And for me, I think my success in that is, again, it's a people thing, right? Yeah. You've got to keep them engaged. You've got to figure out what it is. Why do they come to work every day? You know, I often ask my, frontline supervisors that, why do your people come to work every day? And the answer is not a paycheck, because we're all trying to make a living, right? It's the Jimmy Choo shoes. It's the new car. It's putting a kid through college. If you can get that part right and really focus on it, and then walk the talk, right?
Yeah.
Walk the talk, be there on the front line with them. I don't care who you are in the leadership organization, being out there with them, feeling their pain, removing roadblocks, and showing them that you're also a continuous learner, right? Which is one of the reasons why that I send my own communications. I share my stories. I share the podcast, like Coaching for Leaders, right?
Yeah.
That's where I learned about Liz Wiseman and impact players.
Yeah. Yeah. Kellen, I know one thing we've shared, I think, before, not only here on the show, but also on your calls. I know you love to read books, and you do a lot of that, where you're reading a lot of books to, skill yourself up and learn more. I do the podcast thing also. I tend to like to listen, when I, and just kind of ingest and stuff. But, I love that. It's a vulnerability, right? Because I think some leaders, we've all met them, and sometimes we've done this ourselves, probably. Where we're like, I need to just give off the impression I know everything, and I'm infallible. And that's going to cause confidence. And I think we're finding that, well, especially as time evolves and as our culture evolves and teams evolve, that people respond better to where it's like, are you human like me? Are you learning like me? And are you still learning stuff? Because that means it's okay for me to keep learning and maybe not have arrived yet or something. But I really like that. That seems super real. I know we talk about authenticity being important, but it very much feels that authenticity, not to be redundant, feels real when it comes from you and what you're saying. So I love that you're bringing that into and adding that to our leadership existing at Percepta, which I think we have a really great foundation already, but it helps to get that strengthened.
Yeah, I totally nerd out on the personal development, personal success, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's never not a book right next to me that I'm ready to read. So I that was totally me just being selfishly asking that. So
it was awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So I love everything that you've said. I've written down a ton of notes. I have notes from yesterday. So thank you so much. But there is one interesting fact that we did not touch on that was more on the personal side. So I hear that you have a very unique talent, usually at the beach. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I can. So, first and foremost, growing up, I thought I was going to be the female Jacques Cousteau. I was going to go to Pepperdine University and I was going to be a marine biologist. Well, for many of us, dreamers, especially when you're a young child, like those things always don't happen the way they are. But I do feel like my soul lives at the beach. I could be there with or without my kids, but it did start with my kids, right? Is that we would build together, sand creatures. I'm really not a sand castle builder. I'm a sand creature builder. Yes. So octopus, dolphins, turtles, you name it. So I actually am entering an amateur competition next year in Corpus Christi, Texas. It's actually in Port Aransas, which is just over the bridge from Corpus Christi. They have Sandfest every year in April. So I won't just be on the beach building these giant turtles where kids come by like, hey, can you build me a shark, after they've watched me build it for 8 hours. But yes, total Peter Pan syndrome. I'm never going to grow up. My kids laugh at me like, Mom, you were at the beach, just you and Dad, and that's what you did. I'm like, yes, that's what I did.
Yes.
And I love it. And I absolutely love it.
We have to get a picture. Can you? I mean, I think that this is getting it posted on LinkedIn. We've got to have a follow-up picture and be like, look, here's the evidence. Yeah. So if you can send that over.
Send a picture. I think I have one, like, buy a turtle, thumbs up, like in a bathing suit. It's appropriate bathing suit. I promise.
Love it. Oh my God. I can't wait to see it.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Well, this has been very, very fun. And I think that there's a lot more we could unpack here. So let's definitely earmark another time for you to come back on and just kind of catch back up with Merideth, because I think there's a whole lot we could continue to dig into here and just hear from, and maybe get some updates on kind of new things that you're doing, because I know that you're going to be doing some cool stuff here. So really excited about
I would love to. I'd love to.
Thank you. Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's always our pleasure to have you on. So thank you very much. We very much appreciate you taking time and chatting with us and dropping some knowledge bombs, as we say here. So thank you very much. And to all of our folks that had the opportunity to check this out, please reach out if you have any comments or questions here.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Merideth. And of course, we're excited. Y'all, if you're not part of Percepta, you just get a snippet of this from the external. We get to work with her internally. You can too. So, you know where to look for that. But yeah, Merideth, looking forward to working with you a ton. So can't wait. Let's get started.
Yep.
Let's do it. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Hope everybody has a good day.
Bye.
Bye.